Hey, and welcome to the exPEERience podcast, where we share our experiences and our perspectives on this thing called life. I'm Marquita.
And I'm Brittany. And today's episode, we're going to kind of just reintroduce ourselves a bit, share again what the purpose of the podcast is, and why we're doing this, and why it's important for us to be our most vulnerable selves.
Yeah, so I guess kind of like the burning question for today's episode is kind of why is it hard for people to be themselves and vulnerable when communicating with others?
Yes. Um, so I feel like kind of just to start it, like I think we kind of came, well, let's just reintroduce ourselves. Well, the purpose. So, the exPEERience podcast, we wanted to create this podcast because one, we talk a lot on the phone. We have a lot of like deep and interesting conversations on the phone. They last for hours. And we were just like, let's come together and actually make a podcast because I feel like some of the topics that we discuss are really important and relevant to what's going on in like in society today. So I was like, well, not I, but we just decided that, we wanted to do this podcast together. And during that process, we were thinking about what we wanted it to feel like, how we wanted it to flow. And we're both at a space in our lives where we've grown to the point of being super vulnerable and just sharing our experiences. And that is what the purpose of the podcast is. Like, we don't come on here to really sugarcoat or, hide behind ourselves because we have done that for such a very long time. So we're here to share our experience. We're here to really create a voice for ourselves, the voice that was condensed before and we didn't use our voice much before. So now this is an opportunity for us to like say how we feel, share whatever, no filters for the most part. And of course, being considerate of the people, the audience in that process. And bringing our peers on as well to share their experiences in the hopes that we can grow and heal and learn from each other.
Yeah, and we're really just, I guess, the important factor of us bringing it to, I guess you want to just call it social media, is because we're kind of hoping that other people can, open up more or, talk about things that aren't, that comfortable to talk about. And we just feel like as a whole, like if we can all just start doing this, then I mean, things can get better because the world is crazy right now. As I know you guys see it, but yeah. So anyway, Brittany, do you want to start it off?
Sure. So I think the first thing is like, are people like, do you feel like people are, or why do you feel like people aren't keeping it real? Like, why do you feel like people don't feel vulnerable enough to share stuff that they've been through and stuff like that?
I honestly think that people don't really know who to trust, right? So if you don't know that, something that you're dealing with, is safe with, I guess, the general public or even your friends, then you're just going to kind of keep it to yourself. And I feel like because of, all the gossiping and people like being judgmental and kind of, making these rules like, okay, you got to do this, you got to live your life like that. I think like it kind of, starts building up those walls within people where we don't really want to share what we're going through. We just want to kind of talk about what everybody else is going through and like put other people down
Mhm.
when, in fact, some of the things that we complain about other people, like we do it ourselves.
Yeah. And I also just feel like, you know, everything isn't entertainment. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's okay for us to have a serious conversation about stuff that we've been through. Like, I don't think that, because I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not gonna lie. So I feel like when I have conversations with certain people, I'm like, I'm reluctant to get deep with them because I'm like, they're not gonna be in a space to like reciprocate that. Like, they're just gonna be
Yeah.
like, oh, I might get maybe like a 1 or 2 word response, and then it's kind of like, let me just change the subject. And I don't know, I don't feel like we're getting deep enough. I don't feel like we're really touching. I feel like we're at the surface and we're not going below it, you know. And I don't, I just feel like there's so much to like unveil and so much to like discover about ourselves. And we're going to talk a lot about these things that we want to uncover. Like, I want us to talk about how I know you probably have an opinion, but how I don't feel like I know my origins. I don't feel like I know who I really am because of, I don't know where I come from. I don't know where I originate from, but I have all of these like resources. Oh, this is what you are, and this is who you are. And, you know, I'm being told by numerous people who the fuck I am. And I'm like, who am I? Where am I from? You know what I'm saying? But you'll get some people that just be like, fuck it, I'm Black, you know? And that's how they feel. And that's what they're going to go with instead of going deeper than that. Why you feel like this? Why are we, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. That's just my kind of take on the, I just don't feel like we touch on certain topics. I feel like it's touchy. Like, it seems like it's just like pushed off to the side and not really addressed. And it's annoying. It's annoying to feel like you have a peer group of people that you're close with and no one wants to have the conversations about what you've been through, why you are the way that you are, because it feels like it's too dark or too deep or something.
Okay, and so when you say like knowing where you came from, so what in what sense of vulnerability, like, do you feel like it's important to know like where you came from? Does that make sense? Does the question make sense?
Say it again. So in what sense of vulnerability?
Yeah, so when it comes to like vulnerability, why do you think it's important to know like where you came from or where you come from? Because I'm assuming that you're talking about, you know, tracing back like through your ancestors.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like to get to know who you really are, you have to kind of go back to where you came from.
Right.
Because like for example, a lot of people when they share their success stories, do they not always go back and be like, I came from blah blah blah, this is a part of my story? They have to go back from where it all originated. And for me, I don't feel like I can share a part of my success story without my technical or origins and like having that ancestral knowledge, but I don't feel complete without it. I don't feel like I can like travel the world. Like, I want to be able to travel somewhere and be like, damn, this is where a lot of my family originate from. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, that's important to me because that helps me to learn why I am the way I am and what I resonate with. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Because I can go out and be like, I can go to Egypt and be like, you know what? I resonate with this part of the world. Maybe this is where I'm originated from. Sure, I can say that, but it's always nice to just have that like knowing to an extent. Like it's different to me. Like, I get your intuition like will guide you, of course, but like having that actual like concrete evidence, like this is where my family is from, like this is the country, and you know what I'm saying, like it just feels different to me, and it just feels like it's fulfilling to me. Like that's how I can feel like I can successfully share my story and things about myself and pass that down to my children's and my children's children and so on and so forth. Because right now, my son is going to just be having like nothing from me and probably nothing from his dad either, outside of maybe my parents are my grandparents are Native American. I don't know. But that like that's really like a part of why I feel like it's important to be vulnerable.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, just in general, like just knowing like your history, your genes, and how they were spread out to get you where you are right now. I think that's a good way to heal, because I mean, you kind of just start seeing the world as bigger than it actually is. Like we live in like this. Well, if you live in Baltimore, you live there your whole life, never really traveled, never even really been to another state. Like it's so small. So you get caught up in what everybody's doing there. You're not even really seeing like this isn't just like a city, but it's a state, that's a country, that's on a certain coast, and it's like this whole world where people are just, I don't know, like culture is really just diverse and rich, and we sitting over here, you know uh we got Sam come to us and tell us a secret, and then we go tell April, Jessica, and just kind of we worry about like these small little things. And I feel like it's just contributing to the messiness, contributing to the sadness.
Mm-hmm.
But if we kind of just saw the world as like bigger, like
Mm-hmm.
we wouldn't really care about like these tiny little things, like who wore what or who got beat up by who.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like people from small towns like focus a lot on that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I don't know. I just feel like it takes away from like the really just taking this life experience into its entirety. Like I feel like, how do you really get to, like, of course you can have fun, you can live, you can do all of that, but then there's parts that you want to really like know. Like there's parts where you want to seek, and how do you seek if you're just not dealing with anything? How do you heal? Like how do you grow if we don't have conversations? Like then you think about why people have relationships that fail, and why you're always arguing with this person about the same thing over and over again, is because we don't have the conversations that we're supposed to have. It stays here and it don't go any further than that. And I think that um whomever we have on the show, I said the show, whoever we have on the podcast, I really hope that they understand, that part, that, it's not to be nosy. Like we not trying to be nosy, and we not trying to be like in nobody business. I just want people to come on here and share and be their authentic selves. Like this is a safe space, most importantly. Like this is a safe space. Now people have opinions, and people are going to always have something to say, because unfortunately it's a lot of negative people in this world. But if we can bring at least a little bit of positivity and show that we're at least willing to like be our authentic selves and go a little bit deeper, then maybe it'll touch one out of like 25 people somewhere that could potentially watch this podcast. So
Yeah, and I mean, sharing those uncomfortable stories, I don't like, it might seem like you're being nosy, and I actually got that from people like a few times. Like you ask somebody that I don't know, you don't know them, you trying to get to know them, you ask them a certain question is kind of like off limits, but you know, in this sense, and like what we're asking is just like, can you, you know, be relatable? So how can you be relatable if you, unless you say something that somebody else can relate to? So if you're not saying anything and you just, you know, kind of like talking about, like we trying to talk about your worst experience on social media, and you talking about something stupid that somebody else did on social media, you know, that's just a stupid example. But the point is like sharing, like you never know what you can get from sharing like a personal story, and you never know how you can help someone else. And like a lot of the times what I find is when I confide in people, it's a situation where that person either dealt with that in the past or they're going through the thing right now, the same thing right now. And then we kind of just help each other, you know, get through it. We check up on each other, like, how you doing, you know, with this, and like, you know, just like to heal. And I mean, then I guess for me, like a lot of the things that was hard for me to get over and that I was kind of like burying within me in the past, once I started sharing them, and you know, then I was able to accept that that happened to me, or I did this or that, and then
Mhm,
I was able to just let it go. And so I feel like for me, kind of like getting it out there, saying it out loud is
mhm.
something that's really helped me move forward in my life, and care less, because I'm not going to say I don't care at all, but care less about how people might judge me or talk about me when I'm not around. So
Yeah. And like I said, like earlier, we have been forced to be silenced. Like even when people come forward about their them being assaulted or them being raped or molested or something like that, you know, it's never, it's always frowned upon to speak up on something that you've been through, you know. And I think that that's another reason why people aren't so vulnerable, because we have been silenced and we have been told to shut the fuck up when we've experienced something that someone's put us through, and avoidance of like holding them accountable for how fucked up they are. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not fitting to do this at this point in my life anymore. Like, and that's why we're doing this as well. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot of people that have been through some of the, Marquita has different things she's gone through. I have different things that I've gone through. And, you know, I know it's relatable to a lot of people that probably won't ever say anything about it, you know, and it's fucked up. It's fucked up. It's a lot of people out here that are just suffering in silence. And it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling. So if I can encourage anyone, and Marquita can encourage anyone to just speak up for themselves and really just have a voice, then that's what we're going to do. Period.
yeah.
So, oh my God, I was going to ask you a question. What was I about to ask you? Um, Damn. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's escaping my brain.
Mhm.
Maybe if I do this,
I'm
it'll
about to say we definitely don't want to see you doing brain exercises right now, but
no, but that
it might come back later.
okay.
But they say if it was important, you wouldn't forget it.
Yeah, no, it was important though. Oh my God, what the fudge? Ugh. Yeah, that happens a lot. It's gonna come back though. It's gonna come back. It's gonna come back. I know it is. It's just not coming right now. But oh, that's what it is. So my question is, do you feel like there's a such thing as oversharing?
Um, I mean, not really. I feel like you just do what you want to do. I mean, I don't really know like too much like what to say about that. I feel like you are who you are, and how much of your life you decide to share, and the reason why you share it, that's up to you. I don't really think that you could, that's like putting a limit on how much, you know, you can talk. So no, I mean, I don't think. Why'd you ask?
I asked that because I've noticed that a lot of people on social media will say, you know, people overshare, people get on social media and they telling their business and da 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 and blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, social media was created for people to share their opinions, share their experiences, all of that. So for it to become a thing where people are saying you're oversharing, to me is very interesting, when that is literally like the purpose of social media. Because let's say I get on social media and I just be like liking people pictures, or and just never make a post. Like, to me, I know this is my own personal opinion. That's weird to me. A little bit. Like, if you're not, I don't feel like you have to share everything that you deal with, and maybe people just don't feel the need to speak. I
Mhm.
don't know what it is, but I just feel like that's the purpose of social media. People get on there, they share stuff, they like stuff, they interact. You interact with your friends, you interact with your family members. That's
I
me.
I think like there's no rules, right? So like if you look at Clubhouse, and remember, because we were on there in the beginning, so you go on Clubhouse and you got people talking about like financials, you got people talking about like deep stuff, and you got people that just go on there and just be sitting on there talking about whatever, joking around. I don't know. So I think like it's very dependent on that person and like what they trying to do. Like you are coming from a place where you want to heal, right? And you want to heal others. So part of your reason for being on social media is to talk about that, talk about healing. So where you might want to get more vulnerable, somebody that's just like, okay, like I'm going out with my friends, I look cute, I'm gonna post a picture. Some people go on there just to for fashion, so they're not really sharing. They just getting dressed up. They're taking pictures. They like other people that are dressing nice and posting their pictures up. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But with what you're trying to do and how you're also using, social media to help build your business, I
Mhm.
think that it's perfectly fine. I think that if people are telling you that you overshare, then they should kind of dig a little bit deeper and see what is it that Brittany's trying to do and why does she share all these personal stories, you
Yeah.
know? So that's the like I just think that everybody has a different use because like I'm surprised too, like when I'm on Facebook and I see everybody's still talking about Will Smith, and I see like people talking about Kanye West, and I see people always talking about other people, especially celebrities that ain't paying you, like don't even know who you are, by the way. Like they just be on there just talking about it, oh, he shouldn't have did this, but you don't even know this man. So who are you to say, what he should and shouldn't do when you don't know nothing about him except for what he decided or other people decide to put out there about him. And
Right.
so that's my issue is when like, okay, you could be talking about how something happened to you, that you want to share with people. You could be talking about that, but you rather talk about Will Smith. That's what blows my mind about social media is when people use it to be messy.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Ridicule other people because, and we don't have to talk about this for long, but like Will Smith, he's an open book. He's been very vulnerable. He's been sharing a lot about his life and his experience and stuff he went through. And, he leaves it out there for people to create whatever stories and stuff that they want to create. So, and, to me, I don't feel like it's an issue with it because in my opinion, when he's sharing and he's being vulnerable and that's their family dynamic, they're ahead of their own story because
Yeah.
it's coming from them and they're sharing it. So even if people want to spin it this way and they want to call him a wussy or they want to say whatever they want to say about it, this is what he said out of his mouth about his situation, his family, and what he went through. So whatever y'all say about it or whatever, that's on y'all. That's how he felt. That's what he felt like sharing. And that's just my personal opinion about it. Like, I feel like it's a maybe oversharing in person, like you meet somebody for the first time. And even to me, I'm just like, when you connect with people, you connect with people. Like if I meet somebody in an hour and I'm like, oh, hi, I'm Brittany, whatever, whatever, we start having a conversation. And I feel the conversation gets to a point where I feel like I feel not obligated, but I just feel like I want to share something that's maybe deeper than what you would share with someone you just met. I felt like then that's what the conversation went to. You know what I'm saying? I just personally don't feel like oversharing is a big deal. I don't think there's a thing as oversharing. I don't feel like you can overshare. That's my personal opinion. I feel like you just share. And I think that's what you were basically saying. Like people make it a thing, but then you're sharing your opinions every day on social media. So isn't that oversharing? You know what I'm saying? Like, how many times are you going to talk about that person, that person, that person, that person? You sharing.
Yeah.
It's no difference. It's just that it's just not about you.
Yeah. And it's not saying like, it's not to say like, okay, we're perfect. We never gossip or, talk our shit. But I just feel like specifically for me, I've made mistakes like that, like, oversharing other people's business in the past. I've done that multiple times. And the only way that I learned when it's okay and when it's not okay, and when it's like just friendly and when it's harmful, is by people calling me out, is by people kind of, telling me like, you're wrong. Like, why would you do that to me? Or, oh, like I even had people, I even went to other people to talk about somebody else. And I had somebody tell me like, why you putting that person out there like that? And
Yeah.
so I don't know. I just feel like it's okay to mind your business. Sometimes like it's okay to like, if somebody confides in you, great, but you don't have to go, telling other people, like let them tell their story, let them share. And if they're not sharing their story, then they don't want to talk about it. But it's nobody else's business to put people's stuff out there. I'm not trying to like seem like I'm getting mad or anything, like, but I'm just like, I don't know. It's just crazy to me how much people are willing to talk about other people, but they're so scared to talk about themselves.
Yeah. And that is I feel like that's the perfect segue into the second part of the podcast episode, which is going to be escaping it as coping mechanisms.